My girlfriend lied to me about having her ex over to see their son after I expressed that I didn't want him over when I wasn't home, but I only found out about it because her son accidentally told me and didn't know she was lying. Me, 35M, and my girlfriend, Sarah, 35F, have been together for 4 years. She has a son, Nathan, 9M, with her ex, Mark, 36M. Sarah has full custody of Nathan, with her ex having scheduled visitations one weekend of every month. Sarah and Nathan moved in with me a little over a year and a half ago, and in my perspective, it was a little rocky at first. I've always been pretty protective of my space, so making room for two other people was difficult for me. When Sarah moved in with me, we agreed that the visitations for Mark would be held in our apartment as long as I'm home. The main reason I wanted this is because I don't know Mark that well, and I don't want him wandering around our apartment without me there. When we proposed this idea to Mark, he was okay with it. Now, moving on to the real issue. 3 weeks ago marked 4 months since Mark's last visit, so I had asked Sarah when he was planning on visiting again. My girlfriend replied by shrugging her shoulders and telling me she'd ask. She never followed up with it, so a few days later, I asked when Mark's next visit was, and Sarah said she'd tell me when she knew. Nathan was in the living room but had apparently overheard us and shouted something along the lines of, "Dad was here last weekend, remember?" Shout out to this kid for being so innocent that he doesn't understand that she's lying. Sarah's face immediately dropped, and when I asked what Nathan meant, she wouldn't give me a direct answer. Eventually, she ended up telling me that for the past two visits, Mark has been to our apartment when I was working. When I accused her of going back on our agreement, she kept telling me this was her home too and she could invite whoever she wanted in, and that it was fine because she was here and watching. I told her that was besides the point and she violated my trust. It blew up into a huge argument which ended in me telling her to get out of my apartment. She packed up and left with Nathan. Last I heard, she was staying with her parents. I've gotten several messages from both Sarah and her parents calling me an asshole for kicking Sarah and Nathan out of their home for something so small. She's even been blasting me on Instagram and Facebook about how horrible I am to do this to her. It's got me thinking I might be the asshole, but I'm not entirely sure yet. Am I? ETA. Edit to add. I can see why it's important, but the court order was instructed because of Mark having a criminal record. I'm not sure what it's for as Sarah has never directly told me, and I didn't want to push her to tell me. Well, I don't think you're an asshole here. I mean, I wouldn't want some random dude that I don't know too well in my apartment either. Although it's been, a year of him coming over, and I could understand where Sarah is coming from, but she should definitely talk to you about it because why would she need to sneak Mark into your apartment when you're not home? I mean, that just sounds a little iffy to me. But let's see what the comments have to say. So, a downvoted commenter says, "You're the asshole, and I will tell you why. You're living with a woman I assume you care about and trust, yet you say her ex can't come to pick up their child at your shared home. Does that mean that no one can come visit when you're not home? What if her son has had a friend to come over to play? Technically, it's her home as well. The fact that you threw her and her son out is just horrible. You should be ashamed of yourself." And OP replies, "According to the court order, Mark is allowed to take Nathan out during his specified weekend as long as Sarah accompanies them. Of course, Sarah can invite other people when I'm not there, but I don't trust Mark." I completely glanced over the fact that the reason Mark has this custody agreement is because he has a criminal record. And the big issue here is why hasn't Sarah said anything about what Mark did to get this criminal record? Because that's a big red flag, in my opinion. But I will say that, you kicking your girlfriend and her son out is probably an overreaction, and you should probably invite them back into your home. Anyways, let's move on to another comment, which says, "Everyone sucks here. You're being an asshole for saying they can't have him over without you there. It's Sarah's home too, and she should be able to have over anyone she wants. You're also an asshole for kicking her and her kid out over this. It's an extremely shitty thing to do. Sarah is in the wrong for lying to you, telling her son to lie to you, and for going back on your agreement to only have Mark over when you were there without informing you." And OP replies saying, "I'm not entirely sure if she told Nathan to lie for her, as he was at school the last time we had discussed it, and he jumped to say something very quickly this time." Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's being an asshole for not letting Sarah have this random dude over that has a criminal record. For all we know, he could have murdered someone. But I do think he's definitely an asshole for kicking her out, right? We just don't have enough context on the situation to be able to know how bad of a guy Mark is. but hopefully we'll find out in the update, which starts by saying, I got off the phone with my ex and figured you all deserved an update. First of all, I wanted to thank all of the feedback and comments I got on my post. I didn't think it would get much attention, but here we are. There was a lot of different opinions on who was in the wrong, but after going over a ton of them, I realized I wasn't as non-assholey as I thought. Now onto the update, as I'm sure that's what all of you came back for. It's not too exciting, so I'm sorry. Firstly, on Monday, I had a locksmith come by in order to change the locks, which I got the go-ahead from my landlord, and I ordered a new door camera that should be coming in sometime next week. After that, I hadn't heard from my ex until Tuesday when she called me from a number I didn't recognize, her mother's, in order to apologize. She started crying over the phone, begging me to take her back and that she made a mistake and how awful it was being back at her parents' house. She complained that everything was a mess and that there was a smell she hated. So, I mean, maybe her parents were abusive or something? I can't really tell. Anyways, she even promised to never bring Mark over again as long as she could move back. I ended up telling her that she had lost my trust and that I wasn't going to move past this simply because she was having a difficult time at her parents' house. I told her this was her consequence for breaking the one thing I had asked her to do when she moved in. When she realized I wasn't budging, it's like a flip had been switched. She started screaming at me, using lots of colorful language I won't be repeating here. Among the list of swears, she told me I had no right kicking her out of her home, that I was criticizing her as a parent, and that I was a manipulative and ignorant jerk that no one would ever love because not even she loved me. Before she hung up, she told me she'd get me evicted and take my apartment from me. I had blocked the number after. I ended up emailing my landlord in order to see if there was any way she could get me evicted. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in my post, but I've been pretty good friends with his son for a while. He ended up calling me and laughing about the whole situation, telling me that legally she has no ground to stand on since her name was never on the lease. According to him, she was simply a live-in guest until her name was added. Thank goodness it never was. Which brings us to earlier this morning, where my ex woke me up to call me, this time from her father's number, and repeated most of the things I listed above. Apparently, she had contacted my landlord and he had hung up on her. Thank you, David. By the end of it, I told her to stop contacting me and that we were over for good. I blocked her father's number as well. It's not the most exciting update as I said earlier, but it's what happened. Some people in the comments suggested I talk to my landlord, which is what I ended up doing, so thank you to those people. And that's it. I mean, great update, I guess. There's not a lot that happened. She's showing her true colors, which I don't really know what people expect when they do this. Like, I see this a lot in Reddit posts where the second someone doesn't get what they want, they just flip a switch and go berserk. And it's like, what are you expecting to come out of this? Are you expecting a positive outcome to come from you just losing your mind and calling this person a bunch of derogatory words? Like, if you're the person on the receiving end of this, you wouldn't let it slide at all. And if anything, you would just make your punishment worse. Anyways, one of the commenters said she lied to him, not once but repeatedly, and would still be lying today if the kid hadn't spoken up. And that is complete facts, bro. She would have kept lying to you, and I'm still wondering why she wanted to bring Mark over when you weren't home so badly. Like, did she secretly still love Mark or something? We don't really know. But if I had to guess, she's bringing another guy over, sneaking him over, in my opinion. And the only thing I could see is that maybe she was gonna start cheating on you if she hadn't already. So you dodged a huge bullet with this one. Anyways, that's gonna do it for the story, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.